Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and this is Stargirl episode 10. I can't believe there's only 3 more episodes to go after this, but I have to fess up now. And last week I pretty much ripped Starman a new one, calling him out for being unemotional and being obnoxious. Now Starman reveals to Pat that his values are exactly what they are, and how important it is to have friends, people around him, family in his life. This meant that Eclipso threatened his life, and when it came down to him actually doing something about it, like taking Bruce Gordon out, he had to do it. So because of that, him and Pat came to an understanding. I'm glad they got that out of the way, because it really kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I think a lot of the fan base on forums, big shout out to you guys on CW on Facebook who are following the channel, big shout out to you guys. And I think a lot of people were a bit upset by the tone of it all, but it's good to see that the writers addressed it straight away. Not even in the first 5 minutes, right off the bat, they had the conversation, they had it out. And Steinman was being really honest with him about, look, when it comes to family, friends, people who are close to me, I will do everything I can in order to protect them. And I think this leads back to the whole Yolanda situation, where she never had that conversation with Barbara or Pat. And I think part of the reason why Courtney was so upset on the back end of the last episode was because had that knowledge have been brought forward to the kids, they would have been able to at least save Yolanda, at least have her still on the team, with her actions being in a position where she had to do it for the greater good of the team, instead of having what happened where she left the way she did because she just felt the guilt was eating her up inside, and nobody understood what she did or what she went through. And so I'm hoping that they revisit that at some point. But guys, in many superhero shows, the one thing that causes a major problem is the secrets and the lies. We see this countless times. Remember, we always have that saying, oh, I did it because I'm protecting you. Situation here that has come to a point where it's, please stop protecting me, tell me the truth, even if it hurts. It will do more good than not, rather than doing more harm, because in this situation we've seen that the truth being hidden has done more harm, as I just talked about with Yolanda. So I guess these it forces the relationship to go south if you don't do this, and it's what makes Stargirl different from many other shows. The fact that they've brought it up, they've addressed it, and no matter how bad things get, the heroes can tell each other the hard truth because they care. So if there's one thing we know about the Justice League, is that they're all honest with each other. We've seen the Marvel movies and how they've betrayed each other and how they've lied, and the conflict between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. That doesn't happen in the Justice League because they lead by examples. They're all honest, and Batman and Superman the linchpin of that. And, you know, Superman sets the tone because he never lies. Batman's always honest about his actions. We know in the Tower of Babel, when he took out a contingency plan to take out every single one of the members, he was honest with them. He said, you're all a nuclear bomb, and if one of you go wrong, someone has to stop you. And all of that was done from the get-go. And I like the fact that in the DC, the Justice League, we have that kind of relationship in the Justice League, which doesn't exist in the Avengers. And this show kind of sets the tone for that, in terms of, let's get everything out in the open, let's get the truth out there, and then from there we can move on. And I think the level of trust has been lacking for Courtney in regards to Pat and Barbara for this reason, and it's been affecting the team in big ways. So this has been very compelling. A lot of people, this is what I talked about last week, a lot of people have been saying there's not a lot of action, but what there is pure context, and it's really enjoyable to watch. The emotions is really driving the force behind the show at the moment. But guess who drops in? The Shade. While they're having this discussion, we see a montage of the Shade's origin, and the Shade claims that they can trap Eclipso by fixing the Black Diamond with the cosmic staff. They try. Pat warns Courtney that the Shade is a liar and a con man, and we know this from his origin, the backstory that we saw, where he conned people for a living. But Courtney is so mad and upset that she's not even giving Pat the benefit of the doubt this time. She's just going for it. And as I said, it's the best chemistry in the show, really. It's always been between Pat and Courtney. So I totally agree with Courtney in this regard. And Pat suggests that they use Jenny's power, and then they go in search of her. Finally, we've got Jenny on the show. Remember we talk about Starman, Jenny, and Jakeem just not being around. Well, it changes in this episode. So Courtney gets Beth to look after Barbara and Mike while she's gone, with Pat to look for Jenny. And with Beth continuing her search for the lost Dr. Magnider, she puts her parents on hold. And I like the way she stood up to them. Why don't you figure out your own lives, she says to them, because I've got new friends. You've always told me that I should go out and get new friends. Now have I found friends, I'm going to be there for them. And she needed that. Remember, I called this part of the show Bad Parents. Beth has kind of outgrown them. She's grown the most within the team, and it's kind of gone under the radar. It's gone under the covers. And I like the fact that she's become this person that's so strong and that is going to be there, because they couldn't count on Rick. He's in jail. Yolanda's gone. So who else could Courtney depend on? So she's asked Beth to come in and take care of watching over the shade. We also get a scene in jail, speaking of Rick, where he's kind of reflecting on what's happened to him, and he turns around while he's in the jail and these apples start to get thrown into his cell from the windows. Yes, folks, it's Grundy. And what it means for Rick is the work he's been doing and trying to befriend the gentle giant has all been worth it. So all of that pain, all of that stress that he's put through is finally, that one scene, there was no talking in the scene. You just saw the apples being thrown through into the cell, and then he picks up one of them and eats it. And what it does is it kind of hits home to him that there is hope and that the work he's done has all been worth it. So I really like that scene. But we move on, guys. Episode 10 really hits home the importance of your family, whether it's a part of your team members in general or it focuses on the theme of trusting, protecting them. And that's really what it said for me. This episode really did say a lot. So we move towards them tracking down Jenny in this massive civic city. She's found somewhere in a home where Todd was staying, but Todd has left. Todd is gone. It's leaving her with nothing to really fight for until Pat and Courtney tell her about the events of Eclipso. Jenny kind of feels bad for leaving them and decides to join in and help. Now, at the home, we meet Nurse Love. And when I heard Nurse Love, at this point, I was pumping because I was finally hoping for Dr. Bones. And yes, she picks up the phone and she mentions someone who she's talking to called Dr. Bones. It means we're going to see the Helix gang in the future, or maybe Dr. Bones himself. Now, we're hoping that Helix plays a bigger role for next season. Also, Todd could be the key. Expect him to gain his shadow-based powers and help the team stop Eclipso in the ways that the Shade couldn't, or wouldn't, I'd rather say. So I could see a situation where Todd also saves Dr. Mid-Nite from the Shadowlands, and also Cindy. Courtney, by the way, did try to use Cosmo to fix the Star of the Diamond, but its energy is just spent, and it's been spent for quite a while. I was surprised to even see the amount of force that the Cosmic Staff had in it. Every week we see a weakened staff that's being asked to do things it's not ready for, and it hasn't really had the time to heal, yet Courtney takes it everywhere she goes. I think it's time that she keeps it in a box and keeps it out of action, a little bit like we see with the Stripesy mech robot. I mean, Mike was shown repairing that, which is really good to see. This sort of Peter Parker type knowledge of how electric works and fixing things and stuff like that. To me, he was just a kid struggling with his homework. Now he's fixing Stripe. So, what do I know? But guys, the Green Lantern ring that belongs to Jenny is the only way forward now to fixing the diamond. And we also get to see Jenny's energies at work here, built on emotions. Remember, in the comics, her powers do not come from the ring or a lantern. It's channeled through her own sort of star-shaped birthmark on her palm. But we never really kind of see that here. This doesn't seem to be the case on the show. But she's still a battery and can bring unlimited green energy constructs to life. She can use constructs in any way, limited only by her imagination and endurance. And while she learned to use these constructs to create shields, in the comics she can fly. Jade's power also manifests green fire, which is why we saw those TV reports of green fire. The one thing that I have to point out, Jade is unable to affect any other objects made of wood. I don't think they've made that clear in the show yet, but they're probably going to come round to it. So technically speaking, unlike other Green Lanterns, Jade is a metahuman. So I'm hoping that they will come to that at some point. But back to the Dugan's household, where Dr. Mid-Nite contacts Beth and reveals that not only did the Shade rescue him from the JSA, but it accidentally lost him in the Shadowlands, which we kind of predicted before. And Dr. Mid-Nite also says that the Shade receives his powers in an unsuccessfully sacrificed Eclipso run in the 1800s. So Pat was right. When Jenny fuses the black diamond together, she repairs it, but Beth realizes too late that the Shade lied. And the diamond restores Shade's powers at the same time. It also summons Eclipso, who knocks out Jade and uses the diamond to absorb Courtney in the same way as Cindy. And we see kind of Courtney melting like Elphaba in Wicked or in The Wizard of Oz. So it's crazy, guys. She's gone. Courtney's gone. So yes, regardless of the parlay, saving Barbara, the Shade was lying to get what he wants. So just when you think that things couldn't get any worse, we have indeed reached melting point. We've reached the point of gravity of despair. The Shade, it was being shady. What a surprise. It was inevitable, really. He's always been out for himself. And the JSA now has totally collapsed. Courtney is lost in the Shadowlands. So what we might see is if her meeting up with Dr. Mid-Nite or Cindy can find a way home. Are they going to be able to achieve that? Or is Todd going to be the answer? A little bit of a tidbit here, guys. We got some Mike set up as well, finding Jakeem, going to his house and finding out that his house has been turned into a Willy Wonka styled candy home. I did point out before that Thunderbolt Genie could have helped fix the diamond, but I think it's a little bit too late for that now. Whatever's going to happen with Jakeem, it's probably not going to happen until season 3. I mean, there's still 3 episodes left, but it's just a bit too late in the game for Jakeem. Maybe Starman might come into the mix. We've seen Jenny now. We've got a little bit of Thunderbolt. The only person that we haven't seen paid off is Sylvester Pemberton. So maybe that happens. Still, guys, Eclipso remains unbeatable. Yet is just trolling everyone outside of taking Isaac's life. I think maybe he doesn't need to kill anybody yet or absorb anybody because of that reason. The fact that he's fed off Isaac means he hasn't needed to feed off anybody else for now. But I like Mike telling Buddy to watch over Shade and Buddy getting into defensive mode. You can see the dog just getting all defensive. Also, guys, did you notice that the Civic City is a suburb of Philadelphia? In the episode, they kind of use stock footage of Philly there. Also, I have to say that the realism in the show is always welcomed. I still see that the Cosmic Staff's burn streak is on the kitchen wall from the fight with Jenny and Courtney way back a couple of episodes ago, at the beginning actually of season 2, and no one's repaired it yet. Now, many other shows would have just patched up that wall and moved on, but this show is just keeping it there to let you know that they really haven't had the time to do anything to repair it, and I like that. I really do. Overall, guys, solid episode. I've got to say it's an 8.5 out of 10. We've got to see a lot here, so much setup, and now this sets the path that Jenny is part of the team. And will the team find Courtney now? I mean, how are they going to do that? Will they track down Todd? I think this is more going to be a battle from within the Shadowlands rather than those guys that are living in the real world. I don't think they can do anything to get them out, and it probably is going to be a part of Courtney teaming up with Cindy and Dr. Mid-Nite to try to find a way out. Otherwise, it's going to be left to Jenny to find Todd, or maybe Starman and Pat might come up with something. But I'll leave it right there, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.